All right, welcome back. So I have another example with inheritance, this one a bit more complicated. So we saw the basics, we saw how to use super with pet or animal and cat. Here I have the user class from the last section. It's a bit more complex. If you didn't watch any of that section, you could just play around with this code, download it. But essentially, there's a user. Each user has a first, last name, and then an age. We have methods like logout, full name, which returns the full name, initials, a couple of other things we won't use in this video. There's a class attribute called active users, starts at 0, and every time a new user is created, we add one to it. And every time logout, the instance method is called on any instance of user, we remove one or decrement active users once. Okay, so the goal here, and I alluded to this earlier on in the section when I talked about inheritance, is to model a typical permission setup on a social network or a blog site, something like Reddit, where we have a user, like most of us are users on the site, regular old users. We can create comments and add a post, but we can't go around just deleting other people's stuff or editing other people's stuff at our own will. But then there are moderators, and moderators are in charge of a particular community subreddit, if we're using the Reddit example, like the soccer subreddit. That's when I go on a lot, and the moderators are very active, always having to remove like inappropriate racist comments or things that have nothing to do with soccer. And the reason that this is a classic use case for inheritance is that moderators are simply users, but they have some additional functionality in them, some special things they can do, like delete a post or edit a post. Well, I don't know if they can edit. I think they can just delete a post or hide them and delete comments and that sort of thing. So we don't want to define that functionality on user. We only want it on moderator. But everything else should be, fair game. We want a first name, last name, age, and imagine, email and password and all that stuff that a typical user on Reddit has, a moderator also has. So let's start by defining moderator. And it inherits from user. And then we'll define our init. And we're just going to go with the exact same things, first, last, and age. And how about, let's go with community. So this will be like their section that the moderator enforces, like soccer or San Francisco city subreddit, whatever it is. Okay, and I need a T over here and a colon. And then we'll just call super.init. Why am I missing those T's? And we want to pass in first, last, and age. And then we'll set self.community equals community. So in this case, super refers to user. It's calling init up here. And therefore, it should automatically add one to active users. We don't have to do it manually because we're making use of this init already. So it's adding one to the active users class attribute because active users, and this is how it's structured right now, but it makes sense that we want all active users on our site, not just the ones who aren't moderators, because a moderator is still a user. Okay, now let's define a method and let's call it remove post or something. And let's just have it return a string that says something like Tim somebody removed a post from community soccer or something. So we don't have an entire website set up or application with a database and everything. We can't actually remove anything right now, but let's just have it say, let's use full name, which is defined up here in user. So let's say self.fullname removed a post from, and then let's do self.community. So Tim, blah, 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 removed a post from soccer community. I guess the soccer community. Okay, now let's make a new moderator. So we'll go with Jasmine equals moderator. First name is Jasmine. Last name can be O'Connor. And what else is there? Age, she'll be 61. And her community is the piano community. Okay, so if I do something like print Jasmine dot full name to start, and then let's also make sure her community is set up, print Jasmine dot community. Let's test it out. What do we get? Jasmine O'Connor and piano. Okay, so these classes are set up correctly. That's the first thing I wanted to do. It's just another example of how we can save a good amount of typing, right? I mean, we could redefine all of this. If we wanted all of this functionality and we weren't using inheritance, we could put it all in here. But with inheritance, automatically every moderator gets all of these built-in methods. And then by adding super.init, we get all of this code as well. So there are a couple things I'll point out. The first is if we make a new user, let's just call it u1 equals user, and this user will be Tom Garcia, who is 35. And let's start by printing user dot, and then what was our method? Display active users, like this. And does that one print itself, or does it just return? No, it just returns. Okay, so let's do this, and then let's do it twice. So we'll make a new user. We'll do it again. We'll make a moderator, so 3 times actually. So this is a class attribute. Well, it's a class method called display active users that is referencing class attribute active users, but it's on the user class. So does creating a moderator impact active users on the user class? But before we can do that, I need to add parens here to actually execute that method. And now we get there currently 0, and then 1, and then 2 active users. So the answer is yes, this class variable active users is being incremented because we have it being incremented inside of the user init, which we are calling here. However, if we weren't doing that and we manually defined self.first equals first and so on and duplicated everything, then user.activeUsers would not be incremented because we wouldn't be calling init. And if we did want to just keep track of how many moderators there were currently online, we could do total mods equals 0 and then just increment. We could do moderator.total mods plus equals 1 every time a moderator is created. And we could even steal this exact class method here and just change it a bit. I need this ampersand, or what is this called? The @ sign. And we'll call this display active mods. There are currently class.total mods active mods. Okay, so I just copied and pasted it, but I changed this because now it's for mods and it's referencing the moderator attribute called total mods. Okay, so there's a lot to take in there. Let's just make a couple of users. So user 1, user 2, user 3. It's okay that they're all the same. And we can print active users. But let's also make 2 moderators, Jasmine 1 and Jasmine 2. And then all we'll do is print active users and then print active mods. And it's important to note I can't call this with user.displayActiveMods. I do need to call mods.displayActiveMods, or moderator.displayActiveMods. Now we get there are currently 5 active users total, but only 2 of them are active moderators. So the point of all that was just to show you that we can separate out functionality where if we wanted to have a separate class variable for something like that, we could put it in the moderator class, and we could have 2 class variables, one keeping track of users, one keeping track of moderators. And every time a moderator is created, both of them are incremented. Every time a user is created, only this one is incremented. Okay, so that wraps up this slightly longer example. Hopefully it helps make clear how using inheritance can really help you out. So you don't have to use it really ever. You also don't ever have to use OOP, but it just helps you structure things. And in this case, using inheritance helped us reduce duplication. Next up, we're going to learn about the joys of multiple inheritance, which is pretty much what it sounds like.